Welcome, everyone. Today we have a new episode of A New Narratives Talk. New Narratives is a program line by the Amsterdam Museum in which we invite guests from outside of the museum to talk and reflect with us about temporary exhibitions and the museum collection. Because of Corona, this needs to be online, so we are here in the Amsterdam Museum studio with some wonderful guests. But today is not only a New Narratives Talk, it's also a queer history talk. So here in the studio is also my colleague, educator Mirjam Sneeuwloper. Mirjam, what is a queer history talk?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Vanessa. Since 2018, we've been developing for and by the queer community in Amsterdam queer history talks. And we give attention to different histories or her stories, we can say as well, and narratives not often that heard by the larger audience. And most of all, when we talk about these queer histories or recent histories, we find it more than important to make space. And so we're more than happy to welcome here Mini Maxwell. Mini Maxwell is the night queen of Amsterdam, but as well, she curated and she's the moderator of this program today as well. And Mini, you're an artist, you're an activist as well, and your work is very personal, very political. You're extremely busy at the moment with curating different program events and just been back, well, you just returned from Serbia. So just one question from me. Why do you thought it was important to make time as well to be here on this table?
First, it started with the expo itself, Refresh. I was a bit overwhelmed the amount of people I have seen, the amount of work I was seeing of which is made by people of color, Black people, queer people. And I never have seen in my life that amount of people all together in one space. And I found it very beautiful and very needed. And I hope that there are other institutions take this as an example to do it more.
Thank you, Mini.
Welcome.
It's a wonderful compliment for the curator of the exhibition and the museum. Thank you so much. We will introduce the guests who are today here in person in the studio in a moment. But there was one artist, Tamara, who was unable to be here today. But her work really speaks to the theme of today's episode. So we would really like to show her 1-minute video so we can honor her work in her absence.
My personal view, I don't know, I've never been asked that. That's a good question. The series is called Queer in a Time of Forced Migration, and it centers on 4 LGBT characters from the Middle East and North Africa. 1 is from Sudan, 2 from Egypt, and 1 from Saudi Arabia. And it's told across different interactive platforms. I was particularly interested in these individuals because of their activism. There were friends, like some of them were friends when I was living in Egypt, and I was very inspired by how they were trying to change their home, and ultimately that wanting to change the place that they called home forced them to have to leave it. In general, like my theme is the meaning of home. As somebody who is the child of immigrants, has immigrated myself, and I think reflecting on what my presence in spaces means and how those impact my identity as well, I think is something that I'm really interested in exploring. And in this piece, I feel like I kind of explored that journey that breaks down what makes a place your home. And home, or a sense of place and where you belong, or our connections to the places that we call home, I think is something that is really like hard to define and has many layers. Okay, now I'm gonna go.
As being a person of having migrant background and being queer, and have seen this expo Refresh at the opening, I was quite overwhelmed by the amount of work that I have seen in one space, and I really enjoyed it. And I saw also like the visitors were also, many of them were Black people, and I never have seen that in one space in my life here in the Netherlands. And also like the context that we are talking about, queerness, migration, and home, are things that are involved in my work, but which also play in my head.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. I'm so happy that you are here today.
Thank you.
And so, well, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm thinking to ask you, both of you, what is the meaning of home for you? And how do you say home in your language? And I'm asking this question because of the colonial past that we all had.
Thank you first, Mini, for this for this beautiful gathering, actually. In Morocco, we say home, we say dar, darkom, beachkom. We have a lot of words to say home. And for me, home, it's not something that is fixed, or that is building, or that is a country or continent or space. Home is something moving with me, like actually as trans person, queer, and also as Moroccan with all of my identities. I feel like every step into my surviving, it's built for me home. So I am the home. I am the home who is moving all throughout this world, you know? But I still don't have this home that's the home that gathers everyone, you know? But I have the home that hosts me and that lets me be myself anywhere I go, with all the struggles I have to be there, with all the things I have to face it to prove that this is my place, this is my space, my home move throughout the spaces looking for home. My home looking for home, if I can say this. So like this, I'm imagining home. Yeah.
Thank you. Very beautiful said, indeed. And for you, Tyna?
I would sort of layer on Mala's point of what home is, as I agree that home is beyond just a labeled geographical environment. The home is the body. The home is what could move around. And this is why, as queer people, we try to keep the body safe. And so, in that sense, find safety, whether through migrating or through community. Yeah, the home is the body, the home is the safety. And so, in another term, the blood is what we could inherit. So I sort of really agree, just to layer on what you say. And as an Uneme, we describe a home as Oa, which I used to title one of the videos showing in Refresh Amsterdam. And then in Yoruba culture, which is also part of my, well, in terms of spirituality and DNA, I have a bit of a Yoruba background. We say Ile. And so Ile is an idea for home, for finding, for love, for culture. It's all kind of layer, especially as a Nigerian, for me.
Beautiful. Thank you. And then I have the next question for you both again. And is there an object that reminds you home? This could be clothes, food, a smell, you name it. Mala?
For me, my body remembers me of home. My thinking remember me of home. I doesn't had only one home in my life. I was moving always. And also, I was living all my life in spaces of exile. I was always exiled, so I doesn't really. I bring with me memory of exile. I bring with me memory of living, and my memories, my body, the traces of violence, the traces of love, the traces of the smells of living in the street, the smells of being with your family, the smells of being arrested, the smells of being on the flights, coming to Europe, the smells of the RZC, these smells is still in my brain. So my being is remembering me of my home. I don't have a home. I'm exiled body. I'm exiled home. So me remember myself about my home. It's about memory. My memory is my home. My imagination, if I can say this, my imagination is my home. So, of course, there is some des trucs matériels, like this beautiful thing that's come from Morocco. Of course, it makes me think about one home I had in Morocco. Or this, yes. It's the home when I was like, these materials makes me remember things, but everything is complete, the memory. It's complete, it's like complete the memory, complete the imagination, because I forget a lot of homes. I forget a lot of moments. Yeah.
And why forgetting, if I may ask?
Forgetting because we cannot remember everything. And yeah, just because we cannot remember everything. And some things you want to forget, something you want to go forward and just let it go, it's in the past. I don't remember anything about it, you know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Forgetting is forgiveness, and forgetting is moving. Build a new memory, build a new moments, build a new narrative of living. So I need space for some new life, for some new homes, if we can use this word.
New memories, new stories.
Yeah, like let's continue living. Yeah.
And for you?
Well, I understand the need to cling to certain, whether tangible, which could be, of course, visible objects, trying to maybe recreate memories, maybe hold on solidly to certain things that are symbolic, important, and so we want to recreate it because these are mostly the things that formed us, especially like for me, the spiritual part of migrating. I come from a lineage of several ancestors, and we pay homage to ancestry. So if I find myself as it is right now in Europe, what spiritual memory, which is very important anyway to my lineage, would I want to keep? So reenacting is a very important aspect of life for me. And this also could mean food. I come from a culture of large meals, whether through family, through ceremonies, through parties, and also through cultural festivals. How do I want to keep these memories? I like to share. So I like the idea of recreating home, whether through spirituality, whether through food, whether through finding other people on the same journey, and finding healing through all these tangible and intangible memories for me.
So the work of Tamara, Queer in Time of Forced Migration, one of the character in the video of Tamara says, better life in somewhere else, but comfortable here, because I know everything here. Is that something you recognize, and how?
Yes, please.
What I understand with moving, I think any form of moving, whether through local spaces of one's country, or trying to seek refuge in safer zones, safer environments, as most people do, and move to Europe, is one of the most traumatic part of experience, I think, whether through forced migration or conscious migration to seek for anything, element we're looking for. So better life in somewhere else but comfortable here, for me, would be that idea of suspense, that idea of, like you said, the unknown. What are my expectations? Do I erase what I know in the idea to fit into the next plane of existence, or do I just go and find whatever crisis, and hopefully in the end find safety, maybe?
And also that idea that like for me, just moving from Morocco to the Netherlands, it's not about thinking about being safe, because actually the Netherlands, maybe it's safer in a way or not than other places for me as queer people, but it's not safe at all, and the other says. And just like a few months ago, Angel, that she's trans woman, refugee from China, get to suicide because of the IND system that treat refugees very bad, or just like when they put refugees on faraway RSAs. This is not safe at all. The violence going on the RSAs, it's not safe at all. The institutional racism that's here in this country, it's not safe at all. So like we're like this ball who is moving to looking for safety, but all the corners have picking this ball of people that they come here. Like I have of course imagination about the Netherlands, like cheese and these things, but the pride, blah blah blah. But in the first day, I understand that I am not safe in this country, on the sense that my life is not matter when I have to be sent to the apple, to the end of the world, if I can call it, isolated from people, treated very, very, very bad. My humanity was in danger, and I just say how the interviews were makes me to understand that this place, it's not the heaven. So also like comparing how the South is better or the North is better. It's not good comparison, because in Morocco I had some better things, also here in the Netherlands some better things, but just changing the narratives that the North bring in safety, that the North, I mean Europe, I mean Western Europe, bring in safety or anything. We can just look what's happened to refugees every day, what's happened to migrants every day, what's happened to, like as Moroccan, and you can just open the Chanel or say what they say about Moroccan. So the first day when I come here, the first time I identify myself as Moroccan, it's when I come to this country. So my identity, it's become sign of not being safe, sign of being judged, sign of being living racism. And all these identities for me, like the intersection of my identities, as a person of color, as Muslim, as trans person, I don't think I will find anywhere safe, even in the Netherlands. Maybe we adapt ourselves with the violence, institutional violence going on here, to survive the same way we adapt ourselves with violence where on the places where we come from. There is different forms of violence. It's changed and depend where, depend with who, depend which place. There is no other say in Morocco as the same as there is no my family in the Netherlands. I can say this.
It's a pity to hear the stories of the AZC. Actually, 2 of the subjects that I'm showing in Refresh are actually people who live in the AZC. But I understand that every country have their bureaucratic guideline and rules. And then in a system where within the LGBT cases, there are lots of there could be a lot of hypocrisy, but I try not to see this as an umbrella of the whole country. I would say it's just civil servants, bureaucracy. It's just that it's a pity when I'm trying to run for safety, painting in mind a different picture, and then I get this shock when I arrive. So it's actually a pity to hear these whole stories. And I guess how to make it better would be why also we need to make this talk. So thanks for your view about it.
Yeah, to get it visible, to get it out there.
Yes.
So we know.
Yes.
Because also it's hidden what's going on under RCCs. And only what they talk about, what everyone know, like refugees comes and there is RCCs, but what's going on in the RCCs, it's not true. It can be love stories, it can be joy, it can be lots of things, but
also sometimes it is a reaction to previously stored trauma. This is why I agree to some AZC having queer safe spaces, so that because the AZC is not occupied by Dutch people. The AZC is occupied by several people from all over the world who more or less migrate with their own forms of prejudice, their own forms of racism, their own forms of homophobia. So I don't see it as an umbrella for a country, but also using it to look at the kind of people who put all these traumatic and all these layers of whether homophobia, religious crisis, and then they bring it in. And then we all live together in an AZC with our cultural, social backgrounds. I've also heard, not even homophobic attack, I've also heard of people just taking knives and stabbing people sleeping. Yes. So I think there is a lot more healing to do as individuals, whether through a crisis background of migration or I came in as an artist in residence. I also had my trauma. But I think what most people should find as soon as we come into a new environment is to find a community of healing. So that, because there is something isolation does, but trying to find your tribe as soon as possible so that it helps you block out so much prejudice and helps you grow and heal
I get your
at the same
point.
time.
Yes, I get your point, but for me, I'm not saying people as those people do this. I'm talking about institutions that have responsibilities. I'm talking about COA, like example. When you put more than 1,000 refugees coming with all our traumas, war trauma, whatever, homophobia, everything, and you put all these traumatized people there, and the COA controlling these people, you cannot move out of the place. You have to sign every week. Like the situation, la situation sociale, like the social situation of these people, it doesn't create safe space. It doesn't create space of healing. I have traumas from the RCC. Not just, of course, there is homophobia in the RCCs, and for a long time we were calling for creating RCCs for queer people, for safe spaces for queer people. But no one hears us, and they put us there. We have waiting for, some refugees are waiting for 4 years, 3 years to get response. You can imagine how the trauma that the Adesai create, like the trauma that the IND process of accepting people, comment on dit, the process that people have to follow by the IND is making people traumatized. And like in some people, like example, queer people, the IND say, you are not gay enough, you are not trans enough, and they send them back to their countries to face it homophobia, and maybe they can face it killing. So I think that, and the Adesai, the space in the Adesai, the attention in the Adesai, the inhuman treatment to the refugees, that cannot create collective healing. Collective healing will be when in good conditions and good treatment and human treatment to us. I can say that my experience in the Adesai was inhuman treatment. So I have to face it. Homophobia inside the Adesai, and the COA, they don't fix this. The COA, they're just telling you, do this, don't do this, wear this. They are talking to us as people who have no experience in life. They talk to us as people who, I come from Morocco, I come from my background, I come from knowledge, I'm a human. And I deserve to choose. The COA cannot choose for me what to wear, what to not wear, where to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the environment of the Adesai, and also when you talk about institutional racism, it's not about individuals. It's like putting people in situation based on their backgrounds, because they are refugees, because they are people of color, because they are Muslims, and because they can be queer, Muslim, everything, like the intersection of things can be with them. So I think that the collective healing, it will be when we all of us can be equal, and when the Adesai will be destroyed.
Yeah.
Like on to build new society, that those people are newcomers, are welcome here, and they are equal with any person living in this country. We are not the second humans. This is the point.
Yeah. Often I come across a single story that has been told in Western media, that queerness is something Western. Can you say maybe a background if it comes to the global South?
Well, I would start with a series of works I had made in the last years. And one of the body of work is the Dandaldo series. This is from the history of traditional system of queerness in the northern region of Nigeria. And also within the Igbo tribe, we have the other systems of queerness, which is very traditional, which is within the vernacular frame. As an Igbo person, you can, if you're economically empowered, you can actually have a bride. You pay her dowry, and it's traditionally recognized. This for me is a lump of knowledge when I discovered it. So I made a trip in, I think somewhere in 2019, and I found a lot of female husbands who still exist. And a part of the research was if I as an Edo visiting the Igbo tribe, if I can have a wife. But the elder, the local elder, understood what I was trying to ask, and he said, not in the way you want to ask, but yes, if you come in with your family and one of your brothers, you could have a wife. This is a recent research, and this form of queerness within these cultures have existed a long time. I would use the word a long time because I come from oral history where we never really write until, no, actually we have on language, text, parchment for writing. It's just that it wasn't ever published. And our system of archiving is a bit very faulty, especially when as soon as we grabbed the Bible, we sort of started erasing who we were. So within this system, also within Yoruba culture, we have systems of queerness where also women could marry. So I would use the word queer as an umbrella for all sorts of fluidity in a colonial context, to further explain that in history, as Africans, even if it wasn't labeled as sexual orientation, we've always had otherness. It's not what the British saw to us, that there is a male, a female, a boy, a girl, straight people. We've always had various forms of sexual practices, whether to build the community, whether to grow the number of family, and whether to grow the farms. We've always had that. So actually, I also experienced it in Pakistan, where I spoke with queer people who do not have the mobile phone, who don't even speak English. And they understand that they have a different sexual orientation, as opposed to what is now being imposed, and how this whole system, whether from being a Nigerian, reading Sobonfu Some's text, or my trip in Pakistan and Brazil, sort of deconstruct and starts to erase such beautiful stories in a very unsuccessful ways anyway, because even till now, the Hausa tribes are still queer men. The Igbos still could get married to women. The Yoruba still could, and other forms and tribes in Africa. So I think westernization is and could be the problem. I know that I am echoing what we all already understand, but I am for re-educating people, whether through my work, through videos, or just through interacting with my large family who still have refused to accept what otherness within communities are.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, just when I listen to you, maybe this is a silly question, I don't know, but is the home within yourself then as well actually a place where there should be a lot of windows, a lot of different perspectives, and a lot of more choices within our society to be home in your own body? As not for you as a person, but as a society, how we should treat it actually.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. No, it's not a silly question. There's never a silly question. I think if my body is the home, I rather use it as a door, a window, an opening. I identify consciously as a gateway to now distribute the knowledge, not from a very authoritative way, but subtly re-echoing the message, and maybe it could make a change. Yeah. So it doesn't matter from my position of Amsterdam. I have brainwashed my family the last 10 years with my educational understanding, and I like that they've really changed. So for me, the first step is my family, because these are, of course, they are also very dear to me, but this is my primary battlefield. And as soon as I'm able to not force them to accept me, but I understand they love me, and I also understand that I need to first take my preaching to home front, and then they could now spread it, as much as I am also using the work to talk to a more global consumers. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is what I want to show, that about is the West queer and we are just uncivilized people. This is actually the very, very big problem, and I face it to identify as queer person, and I want, like, my performance, women bodies. I'm trying to understand the trauma and the pain that's come from colonialism to our bodies, as Moroccan bodies, as colored bodies, woman bodies and queer bodies, how colonialism treats our bodies and treats our sexualities and actually destroy it. Like when French people they come, French army, French colonization come with the law who criminalized the homosexuality. Also this Victorian law that criminalized homosexuality all over the world. So they bring homophobia with them. They bring transphobia with them. And I think like transphobia and homophobia is something colonial things, very new in our societies. And now we have to face it, these laws that is colonial, and that is colonialism make it as a part of our identities, because they think like the civilization, the European civilization at the time, it comes with this homophobic civilization, with binary civilization, with civilizations that were forced on us, with the arms, with killing us, with jailing us, to stop us continue living our identities and our, let me say, genders. Like for many countries or for many continents out of Europe, there were more than two genders. There were more than men and women. And Europeans comes with their civilization and they say, this is man, this is woman, homosexuality is ta-ta-ta. And then on part of the history, don't say that Europe is the haven for queer people, but they say, okay, we're going to legalize this. We're going to legalize gay marriage as the end with the past, the brutal past that you had lived. And on the other side, which civilization they are talking about? The United States, there is the gay marriage, but at the same time, they keep bombing Iraq and Afghanistan and all over the world. This country, this state, Zionist state that is Israel, it's using queer rights to say that they are better in the world, and they are hiding that they are killing people in Gaza, and they are genociding people of Palestine, and they are selling the land of the people of Palestine. There is no more. The moment you use civilization, as you love queer people, you give queer people rights, and on the other side, you do pinkwashing to your brutality, to the world, to the destroyed world, and to imperialism, actually. Yeah.
Thank you, Mala, very much.
And by the way, like for me, I would like to share solidarity with Palestinian people that they are living right now under attacks in Gaza and Sheikh Jarrah. This is very, very important to talk about it, actually. On land with queerness, because when you talk about queerness, they say like Israel is giving queer people rights. Which queer people? They kill queer Palestinians. Palestinian queer people and trans people, they are not safe there because under attacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Mala is an activist, and you are always on every demonstration. I see you chanting, I see you way of your activism, you use it as an activism. Is this true?
Can I quickly just put what I wanted to say?
Yes.
That I do not, as a Nigerian, whether I'm talking through Europe or I also still visit home as much as I want, I do not need a law to unbind my sexuality. Because I think marriage is also a very colonial thing. I don't need to get married to validate my sexuality or my identity. And so these new law that seem like it's recolonizing or whatever form it's putting in the people, whereas like in Africa we have loads of anti-gay laws. I think the advocacy would not be for marriage for me. It would be to undo the laws and create safer spaces for people to live in. That's what I wanted to quickly chip in as a reaction from what you said.
It's like in Morocco still every year more than 200 persons get jailed because of their homosexual acts that has come from colonial law as well.
So I think it's the duty of the government to make its citizens safe and also stop this crisis that comes with migrating into new spaces. I'd rather be safe than get married. So I don't advocate for marriage. It's very colonial, but safe existence. Yeah.
That's the key.
Can you tell about it, something about your work, War on Bodies and Spaces of Exile? And your your activism.
I will.
And maybe in
try.
1 minute.
I will try.
Yeah.
Actually, like I feel that I'm doing artivism. That's my art. It's not really separate for the things I fight for, and for a specific exile, I'm trying to go forward. Journey of exile that my family lived from the colonial period. That my father was forced to leave his village to a city of Casablanca. I was born there. So it was Casablanca. It was my father's space of exile, and then I was born there. And then I am a queer person, and Casablanca it's no more safe for me. So I have to find new place to be exiled. So I go to Rabat as kind of like more liberal city. And then Rabat, I didn't feel home, and I didn't feel that I'm safe again. So I am already exiled again in Rabat, and then moving to my last exile, that is Europe. So I think that my family, or my ancestors, are journey of exile, are looking for home. Are also my exile or my migration. It's not personal, but it comes from family, from one to one. Because we came back to the word in the beginning, we were talking about home. I'm still looking for home, and I'm gonna be in more spaces of exile. Yeah. And about Warren Bodies, I'm trying to connect with the ancestors and connect with my past, with my family, my body, and how colonialism destroyed it, and how colonialism took my body from me. So this performance is to reclaim my body, is to heal from this brutal history of colonialism on my body, on my family body, on my people body. So it's actually like facing the trauma, facing this brutality is way to heal from it.
Thank you. And if I say so, you are like an activist for 10 years now, or more even. Are you not tired of doing it?
I'm not tired till the liberation. I have a hope. I love myself. I love what I'm doing. I have vision. I have a mission, and I'm not tired. Okay, there is no more tired. I'm tired of capitalism. I'm tired of patriarchy. I'm tired of racism. I'm tired of transphobia. I'm tired of Islamophobia. So to fight to get this out, I'm not really tired. Yeah. Continue la lutte continue.
Yeah. And is there like somebody that you would like to homage? As we always say, as queer people, say things like, remember the people who were before you, who came before you?
Yes, like actually, Marsha B. Johnson, that she's one of people who lead us, or who teach us how to do queer activism and how to liberate ourselves. That I find like Marsha is my hope, and Marsha gives me a lot of energy, because these people before us fight, and we should continue this fight. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
For you?
For me, I would, now that I speak from Europe, I would like to give flowers to everyone in their various home fronts and home countries, doing so much, the much they could do through social media and through all the forms of activism. I would like to really give kudos to them, especially the Nigerians. Now we have a lot of young, visible activists, which we didn't have less than 5 years ago. So I would say thank you to all the young and the older people who are still making comfort within every local space. Names too numerous to mention, but especially Africans, and especially in spaces where we still have the anti-LGBT laws.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm afraid, Mini, we have to round up. We are out of time. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our guests, Mala and Tyna. It was a wonderful conversation. These conversations always feel too short. There's so much to say, there's so much to share, but we will definitely continue this conversation. Refresh will be on display until the middle of June, so we really encourage you, as soon as the museums will open again, to come and visit this wonderful exhibition and see the work of Tyna and Tamara in real life, which is really worthwhile. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.